Internet friends. Welcome to episode 2 of Simplify, Focus, Scale. And today I want to talk a little bit about teams and taking ownership, because one of the most common frustrations that I hear today from business owners, and that I heard from CEOs and presidents of firms that I worked for, is that teams just aren't taking ownership. And that seems to be sort of the blanket reason that businesses aren't scaling. And the assumption is usually that the team just doesn't care, or that they don't care enough, or that they're not the right people. Some spin on that statement is usually what you're getting. But in most cases, it's not really a people problem. It's a clarity and trust problem. One of my favorite stories about this is an IA owner that I worked with. And when I came in, there was the big difference in the perception versus the reality of culture within the firm. A lot of that came down to a lack of clarity and trust. The reason being, the owner of the firm, who was the current CEO, really liked to build people up and talk about how important it was for them to be accountable, and talk about the difference between accountable and responsible on many, many different occasions, and followed a lot of the templated coaching methods that we all know how I feel about. And, surprise, surprise, kept running into failure. Staff just wasn't delivering. In his perception, the staff wasn't delivering, I should say. And he was constantly frustrated that he was spending years on projects that should have taken weeks at best. So when we really started diving in, I noticed a big pattern that was repeating itself consistently with this CEO. This pattern really had him building people up at the beginning of a project, talking about accountability, talking about responsibility, talking about how great of an opportunity it was and how he valued everyone's opinions. But what was really happening is that in every meeting and every stage of decision making, the CEO had to get involved. In fact, to the point where there were conversations that would start with, "Why wasn't I consulted on this decision?" and then ended with, "You need to take more initiative." Now imagine yourself in the position of an operations manager, a compliance manager, a sales manager, and you're getting that from your leader, starting the conversation with heads, ending it with tails. Which way do you go, right? And that was something that was happening repeatedly with all levels at that firm. And another thing that was happening a lot was the discussions of accountability and responsibility. And yet it was the CEO and the CEO's personal assistant staff that was typically falling behind the schedule established within a project plan. So the project manager obviously would develop a project plan. We would keep on top of everybody to get their steps done, but that just simply wasn't happening. So what it really became was that he was a leader who said he wanted ownership, delegated out to the team, which is the right thing to do. But every decision still had to go back through him. So the ownership wasn't truly delegated. Neither was any kind of formal decision-making process put in place. Once we did that, things changed, because ownership doesn't come from telling people to step up. That's just insulting. It comes from giving them clarity on what matters and then trusting in how they execute. So give them the parameters to follow to make the decisions you want to see, but don't force the decisions to come back through you. That is truly how you get exponential value out of your staff and the delegation process. And when that shifts, that's also when the teams actually start thinking, they start contributing again, and they start moving that business forward. I hope you found something insightful, helpful, funny, or at least relaxing today. And as always, make sure that you like and subscribe to make sure that you're catching all the videos as they come out each week. Remember, I do post every Wednesday. And keep in mind, simplify, focus, scale. It's not about size. It's about sustainability. Thanks so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in next week's video.